Hello everyone, welcome to Hot Topics. My name's Tim Green. I'm very happy to be here in London with Anne Boden, who's the CEO of Starling Bank. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Anne, you started Starling Bank a few years ago.
Yep.
You were the ultimate bank insider
Yes.
with Anglo-Irish, and now you're the ultimate bank outsider. So tell me, can you recall the moment when you thought, I need to get out of this and do something different?
Well, it wasn't immediately before starting Starling. As you know, I've had something like 30 odd years in financial services technology. I started as a graduate, a computer science graduate in Lloyd's, went to Standard Chartered, went to numerous banks, and then finished up in ABN AMRO and RBS, where I ran the transaction banking business for EMEA. And I stepped away from that job and spent a year in fintech. And I came to realize that what was taking me millions in the big banks was being done by people in sort of warehouses in London for a few £100,000. And I learned so much. And I took the opportunity of taking some of the skills in how you build systems in a modern way into AIB, into Allied Irish Banks, where I was Chief Operating Officer. And I had a great time there, restructuring the organisation, using a lot of these techniques, trying out all the things I'd learnt in startup land. But I wanted to go a bit further. And in January 2014, I quit my job and started the long journey it turned out to be to start a new bank.
And so, it's a big question, but why do we need challenger banks? What's wrong with traditional legacy banks?
Well, I'd come to the conclusion that the world had changed. People were no longer prepared to do banking in the old way. Music had been changed by iTunes, Amazon had changed shopping, but nobody had really changed banking. And people wanted choice. People had choice in lots of other areas of their business. But they wanted choice from their bank. And we were still in the banking industry talking about cross-selling and upselling and occasionally being fined for mis-selling. And I think customers were a lot more wise about what they want to buy and a lot more educated. And there's a role for a new bank in that particular environment.
So, take me, for example. I'm still with a traditional bank. Apologies for that. I have an app on that, that means I don't have to go into a branch anymore. Yeah. I can make payments to anybody. It does them pretty fast. It never seems to, crash. Yeah. What's wrong with what I've got at the moment? What were you offering that's better than that?
I think what we offer is choice. I do not believe that by basically offering the same business model as the incumbent traditional banks, you're going to get success as a startup. What we believe in is focus. We're only doing one thing. We're all about your current account. We're all about payments. We're all about helping you with your day-to-day money. We're helping you see your money in a new way. So Starling has connectivity to all the payment systems. We're the 13th member of the Faster Payments Network in the UK. We have membership of MasterCard. And what we're doing is actually, in those day-to-day payments, collecting lots of information which we're going to use for you, the consumer's benefit. Not for us, not for the bank to cross-sell and upsell, but for you as the consumer to help manage your day-to-day money.
So put that in concrete terms. I'm using your app. What kind of functionality can I get that I wouldn't be able to get from a traditional bank?
For example, we're not focused on selling more of our products. What we're focusing on is making sure that you have the right products from the right suppliers. For example, we know very well from the data that you, the consumer, have around your transactions, whether you're going to run out the money at the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, say. We have a lot of information about those transactions and can help you source the right products for when you come to, say, buy a mortgage or when you want a loan. So we have that intelligence using AI and machine learning to direct you to the right product at the right time. We've recently signed an agreement with TransferWise, and TransferWise are one of the range of products that you'll find on the Starling marketplace.
So, in a few weeks' time, we'll all be going off to Money 2020 in Copenhagen. I know you're speaking there. And obviously the people there will be a mix of fintech outsiders and traditional banks. I'm just wondering which view of the future do you subscribe to? Will everything be disrupted, and will it go the way that music has, where nobody buys CDs anymore, we're all streaming? Or will regulation and sort of conservatism mean that the banks will just adapt and there will be more players like yourself, but essentially it will be the same?
I'm not arrogant enough to say I can foresee the future. I think I have a lot of empathy with the incumbent banks. They are dealing with a very, very complex environment, lots of products, to lots of segments, to lots of channels. It's a big, big problem to deal with. We are very focused, and I believe that people like ourselves that sit at the centre of an ecosystem will have a fair chance of giving something new to customers. And I think we'll coexist. I think some of the big banks will fail to thrive. I think some will be very successful in charting a new path.
So bring us up to date on Starling. Where are you at now? It's been quite a long journey, as you would expect. It's no small thing to launch a new bank. So where are you at now?
Well, we've been very successful over the last couple of years in building up our own stack. We have a full banking license, so all the deposits of our consumers are covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, up to £85,000. We have an app in the App Store, and we have an Android, both an Android and iOS app available for our consumers at the moment. We're also now working very hard to deliver new function to our beta customers every single day.
So you said earlier that, and I've seen you've made this statement before, that it's less of a bank and more of a current account. Maybe you can describe a little bit more about that, and also just give me a walkthrough. If I download your app, what do I get? Do I get a plastic card, presumably, and then what other kind of functions do I get?
Most important thing is it's very, very easy to sign up for a Starling account. You can do it in a couple of minutes. You basically enter some details. You can try the account out. You don't have to use it as your primary account for day one. You can start using it from day to day and see if you actually like it, and then decide at a later date whether you want to swap your transactions over. In a couple of days you'll have a debit card, and you'll have access to all the payment schemes. We have features like be able to stop your card and restart it if you find it again. We have a whole set of payments methods you can use: direct debits, faster payments, regular standing orders. So we do everything your usual bank does, with a bit more on top.
How are you going to make money? Is this you can make money from overdrafts, from services, from selling data about purchases? What are your plans?
It's very, very important to us that we respond to customers' needs, in that this is a free, if in credit, current account. There are no fees for going overdrawn. There are no fees or fines for doing things that our customers do that break any conditions. What we do is charge a little bit of interest for overdrafts and give a little bit of interest for your balance on your account. And the bit in between is sufficient for us to make profit and cover our very, very low cost base.
Where do you stand on that idea of looking at payment data and maybe selling it in an anonymised way to third parties?
We have nothing in our business case about selling data to other parties. We really believe that the power of data is all about helping you, the consumer, manage your financial affairs. So we are very focused on that. I've been in banking for a long time, and we've looked at data as a way we can use it against our consumers. This is not what Starling does. We believe the data belongs to you, and we're going to help you use that data, your own data, to manage your financial health.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, so we are on our way to 2020. One of the big topics of conversation there will be the PSD2, which is just a few months away. So maybe you can summarise some of the changes that that's going to bring, and talk about how that might help a challenger bank.
Well, I'm a big fan of PSD2. I think we at Starling were writing about PSD2 in the middle of 2015, and it's always been on our roadmap to be fully PSD2 compliant. I had a lot to do with PSD1, and PSD1 allowed payment institutions to start innovating in a very interesting way with the money licenses. PSD2 really allows consumers to get the best service from the ecosystem as a whole. Wouldn't it be wonderful where customers could choose the best part of that value chain that totally suits their needs? We will be totally PSD2 compliant. We've already published all of our APIs. We'll continue to refine them and develop them as more of the technical standards become available. But above all, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could just choose the right app to suit your particular needs and link it into the bank account that you prefer? Customers will have huge amount of choice, and PSD2 will give it to them.
So what you're referring to there is PSD2 sort of mandates the opening up of APIs, and obviously that's something that traditional banks, some of them are unsure about. Your entire existence is predicated on the ability to do that. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about this bank as a marketplace idea, and also answer the question that if everyone else is adding the value on top, you know, there's this phrase "dumb pipe" that's used about, you know, telcos, for example. Is there a risk that the bank account just becomes this sort of dumb pipe and all the value is with the companies that you're working with?
I think it's very important that all banking institutions stay relevant, and relevance is very, very important. And if the banking industry just becomes dumb pipes, well, it's our fault. We have to rise to the challenge. But opening up banking, whereby people can come along with a great idea and develop an app that sits upon a bank back end, shouldn't be something we should fear if we're good enough and we want to compete. A couple of weeks ago, we had our very first hackathon. We used it to launch all our APIs, and we're the first UK bank to have a full set of APIs, including payment APIs. This was a fantastic occasion where we tweeted about it, and 300 people applied. We selected 100 participants. They turned up for the weekend. We even had people flying in from Australia for the event. Came in on Friday and went out on the Monday. Yeah. And they sat in this room for 2 to 3 days.
Did you give them
built
pizza?
Apps. Yeah, we had lots of pizza.
Good.
We had great pizza. But the important thing was that these teams got together and developed things that really worked, that solved real customer requirements over the weekend. The winning team developed an app to help vulnerable people, perhaps elderly people, with their money, whereby using information about spending habits, whether the person was going out every day, whether that person was spending too much on certain shops or sort of types of spending, would actually give a good predictive source of whether that person was in good health or not. And this was a real business problem that this company was looking at. How can they develop an app that's going to help people in their day-to-day lives? And how, using our APIs at Starling, they could take data about some individual and help that individual and that individual's carers manage money in a better way. It's a really, really useful app developed over the weekend.
So in terms of navigating these third-party products, so you know, if you have hackathons and so on and it all goes well, you could have hundreds of third-party products. How would a user discover these products? Would there be somewhere inside the app that they can go and look for them?
Yeah, we will have a marketplace of various people who have connected to us, and we'll also have a situation where you know, we cannot you know, sort of prevent our customers using an app if they choose to do so. In the PSD2 world, many of these entities that access bank data will have to be regulated. So we're all looking forward to when this all charts out and we know how the whole environment fits together. But we in Starling believe in making the pace on this, making our APIs open from day one, allowing people to come in and start using them in our sandbox, and also giving people some instruction on how the regulatory environment will develop over the next couple of years.
So you mentioned that the winner was targeting at senior citizens.
Yeah.
How do you respond to the observation that as banking goes digital and banks are branches are closed, that this can adversely affect some, more vulnerable and conservative members of society? Where do they go?
I think a totally digital mobile-only bank is not for everyone. I think the traditional banks and traditional branches have a place in society, and I think we need to figure out better ways of sharing those branches between the banks that continue to need to use them.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that some banks are looking at, renting and going inside supermarkets and that kind of thing. That seems to be a sensible idea, rather than owning and operating a branch network.
I think the important thing to realise is that many of the banks are trying to find ways of using their branches. I think that's the wrong problem to solve. I think we have to solve the problem of how we're going to help people with their financial lives.
Okay, so you're not the only challenger bank. There are 3 or 4 others in the UK and many across Europe. Can they all survive?
Yeah, I think that the challenger bank title is used by a wide variety of firms. I think you have the challenger banks, that are basically owned by the big retail chains. You've got some of the challenger banks, so basically building societies renamed. And then you've got the new digital banks, and I think there are a handful of new digital banks, all of us very different. Some of us built our technology from the ground up, some of us using package software and servicing a wider range of products. We're all somewhat different. We all have a target customer we're trying to serve, and I think the market share of all those new banks would have to be very, very large to make an indent on the incumbent banks. So I think there's huge market share for everybody, and we all work together in hoping that we can deliver something different to our customers.
What are your own targets?
Well, we very much hope that we'll be relevant. I think I don't really want to put a number on that, but in order to be relevant, we have to have a significant customer base and being able to increase customer expectations in banks. And if that's the case, everyone will get a better service, the ones that bank with Starling and the ones that don't.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.